Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. Well, it is a good evening to you and how you be. William Haynes here, you there, here at 9:09 here on this Monday night. The William Haynes Show is live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. What a time, my friends, to be a fan in the Tampa Bay sports market. We have the Rays tomorrow. Game 1 of a 3-game set against the Toronto Blue Jays. It'll be Blake Snell v. Matt Shoemaker at 5 p.m. Eastern on TBS. We've got all that to talk about. And who could forget, somehow on this show, this is second fiddle, the Tampa Bay Lightning. 1-0 after 1 against the Dallas Stars. During this postseason, the Tampa Bay Lightning are 9-0 when they end the first period with the lead. And with this being Game 6, a win here would bring home the cup back to Tampa Bay for the first time since 2004. We all remember when they made it in 2015 and fell a little bit short against the Blackhawks, but they have a very good chance here. They're up thanks to a power play goal by Braden Point. It was deflected by the goalie, and their Point is on the rebound off of his own shot, burying it into the back of the net to give the Tampa Bay Lightning a 1-0 lead. After 1, also hold the Dallas Stars to really nothing going offensively. They had a little bit going at the end there with the power play, but no goals yet, and we hope that it would stay that way. Nothing better, I think, a clinching game than for Vasilevsky to play pitch a shutout, however you want to call it. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. I mean, the goal for this show, within an hour, get you in, get you out, get you updated on what you need to know about the Rays and send you along your way. So hopefully you can catch the end of this Tampa Bay Lightning game, because I think we're all in some ways. That's really the focus point. But when was the last time in the Tampa Bay area that we have two teams basically in postseason play at the same time? And don't you know, after week 3, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are sitting alone atop first place in the NFC South. So really so much to discuss, and the William Haynes Show really over the past couple months has become in some ways kind of a Rays post-game show, if you will, and we talk Rays and things like that. We're also taking your calls tonight all night long. Well, not all night, but you get the idea, for about an hour or so, toll-free internationally. We've got a line open for each and every one of you that's listening to the program. The number is 877-566-1020. At WHBC Stream is the Twitter. Also, the Spreaker.com, where you're listening to the show, you can drop a message in the chat on there as well. I know we're all busy tonight, and like I said, try and get you in and out as reasonably as we can. The Rays, not necessarily officially, they're going to have to win either on Tuesday or Wednesday, I suppose, to officially play October baseball. And I guess we'll start here with the postseason format. We last spoke on Friday, and we had no idea who the Rays were going to play. We didn't even know who all the postseason participants would be. We've got all that finalized, and then I think after that we'll let you know, just give you some quick pointers on Saturday and Sunday's game. I'd imagine not many of you checked in with the Lightning and the Bucks on those respective days, but a couple things of note. And really, yeah, I'll get to that later. But the postseason pool, the Rays clinch the number 1 seed and get to 40 wins. So get that nice, clean 40-20 record. I'm sure there's going to be an asterisk with this 2020 season, but it's nice and pretty to see the Tampa Bay Rays sitting atop alone in the American League standings at 40-20. They're the 1 seed. They'll play the 8 seed Toronto Blue Jays. There was a potential that they were going to face the Yankees if Toronto could have jumped the Yankees for the 2 seed or the second place in the American League East. That didn't work out. So we'll play the Blue Jays for 3 games. The 4 seed Indians will host the 5 seed Yankees. The 3 seed Twins will host the 6 seed Astros, and finally the 2 seed Athletics will host the 7 seed Chicago White Sox. So a lot of really fun matchups there. And then I'll just glance on it. We're not going to get too much into it, but the National League, the number 1 seed Dodgers will host the 8 seed Brewers. The 4 seed Padres will host the 5 seed St. Louis Cardinals. The 3 seed Cubs will face the 6 seed Marlins. The 2 seed Braves will host the 7 seed Reds. So there are some interesting matchups there. None really pertaining to the Rays. I think just maybe keeping an eye on what the Dodgers are going to do, because if the Rays make the World Series, there's a fairly certain chance that they're going to be going up against the boys in Dodger Blue in Arlington. So also, if you weren't aware, if you've kind of been out of the loop, this first, it's called the wildcard round, or the wildcard series. It's a best of 3. The top seed, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, so on and so forth. The top seed hosts all 3 games, and then after that, for the Rays, they're going to play the winner of the Indians and Yankees series in a best of 5 in Petco Park in San Diego, and if they win that, they'll play either the Twins, Astros, Athletics, or White Sox in a best of 7, also in the Petco Park in San Diego. So they'll get to stay there. That'll be nice in the bubble, but of course you have to make it there first. It'll be the winner of Twins, Astros versus the winner of Athletics, White Sox in a best of 5 in Dodger Stadium. So, and then the best of 7, the ALCS, if you will, is in San Diego. So, the Rays will be heading for a nice little, not necessarily vacation, but they'll be headed out west for the first time in over a calendar year at this point. To Petco Park. They were there last season. Interesting things there, and we have the matchups as well in Game 1, again, 5 p.m. on TBS. I can't really say for certain if we're getting kind of screwed there or not. It's better than a 12 p.m. or a 2 p.m. start, whatever. So 5 p.m. tomorrow, September 29th, Blake Snell v. Matt Shoemaker. That moves a little curious. Wednesday, September 30th at 4 p.m., also on TBS, Tyler Glasnow versus Hyunjin Ryu, the ace for the Blue Jays. And then, if necessary, Game 3, Thursday, October 1st, TBD. So I guess the network and the first pitch time is not announced yet. It would be Charlie Morton versus Tawan Walker, one of the pitchers that the Blue Jays picked up on the deadline. They've also got a slew of others. Ross Stripling, who they acquired from the Dodgers. They have Robbie Ray, who they got from the Diamondbacks. So I think, and I'll just throw this out here now, and I'll touch on it later. Matt Shoemaker, he missed, I believe it was about a month. Yeah, he pitched against the Rays, actually, on August the 21st, and then missed an entire month. Did not pitch until September the 21st, and that was his last start of the season. So to this point, when it comes to tomorrow, I mean, he's going to be pitching on basically 8 days rest. He went 3 innings, giving up an earned run and 54 pitches. So I think we're talking, I mean, he may have thrown a sim game or something. There's no reason why you couldn't, I guess, with that kind of rest. But I would imagine, and this is all skepticism, obviously, with the way the postseason is going to go. Everything is under wraps. You don't really know what's going to happen until it's already happening, as it were. But don't be surprised if the Blue Jays, in a postseason, they're going to go for it. They're going to go tandem start, whatever. Not an opener, so to speak, but Matt Shoemaker, maybe he'll get 3 innings, and then you hand it over to maybe Robbie Ray for 2 and Ross Stripling for 2, and maybe they just piece their way together on that because a bullpen that I guess on paper is supposed to be good. I keep hearing that the bullpen is good, but every time it seems like the Rays play the Blue Jays, it's Tampa Bay coming out on top, breaking a tie in the late innings against this allegedly good bullpen. So who knows from that? And I think Charlie Montoyo, the manager of the Blue Jays, and has been in the Rays organization since 1997. That's going to be the big storyline, and he was there until 2019 when he left to take the managerial position with the Toronto Blue Jays. There was an article in the Tampa Bay Times, a nice piece by Mark Tompkin, basically just kind of detailing the relationship between Kevin Cash and Charlie Montoyo. They share the house in Port Charlotte or whatever for spring training, with Montoyo being in Dunedin. That's about an hour or so drive. So, they spend their days then, and even when they get together in the regular season, it seems like they're all buddy-buddy, that kind of stuff. And they even, who knows? They may be in discussion during the series. Not that, any strategy is going back and forth, but it just shows you what we kind of know to be that competitive playoff baseball. Not to mention how weird it is going to be without fans and whatever the heck TBS decides to do with if they put fake fans or fake crowd noise, whatever. It's going to be weird all around, and 2 managers that are buddy-buddy and know each other so well. I think the whole thing is just so weird. Both sides all around are just very familiar with each other. So, again, very, very strange. And I think those, to be honest with you, is more storyline and more narrative than anything else. But I think that is part of sport. It's not just what goes on in the field. It's how it's covered and how you take it in as a fan and all that. Not to go off on any too long of a tangent. And just as a reminder, at about 9:20, we're going to blow through the break here and maybe take a break in about 20 minutes or so. We have a line open if you want to call in and talk Rays. This is kind of the point of this show as well, just to maybe get your guys' thoughts on the air. If you want to maybe throw some stuff at me as far as postseason strategy goes. I know we've had some guys here over the last week or so call in, and I appreciate that. Great callers always on the William Haynes Show. You guys really have been the best, one of the best listening bases out there for a show like this. Number to call, 877-566-1020, as the second period is about 4 minutes underway in Game 6. So hopefully by the time the third period begins, we'll be up and out of here. The Lightning still holding a 1-0 lead. Getting you caught up on the couple of contests that took place between the Rays and the Phillies over the course of the weekend. Something also interesting to note, the Phillies came into this 3-game set, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I believe they were a half or a game and a half out of a playoff spot, and they get swept. So Joe Girardi and the Phillies, they needed this series bad. And a Rays team that by Saturday morning or whatever had already clinched the 1 seed, having nothing to play for, they swept them in 3 games. And you want to talk narratives, I think how sweet I guess it is to single-handedly hold the Phillies out of the postseason, kind of getting a little bit of revenge there for what they did to us in 2008. So maybe a good omen. We talk about things like that. Certainly there's a potential for that. It was a 4-3 win on Saturday. The Rays picking up win number 39. The lineup, Arozarena led off and DH'd. Lau played second base, then Adames at short. Yoshi cleaned up and played third base, and what a game that he had. He hasn't played third base, it seems like, in forever, and he gets some time there. He goes 1 for 1, knocks in a run, and walks 3 times. So a guy that has been up there in the leadoff spot, we're like, well, he's not getting on base. He takes pitches fine, but maybe turned it into a little more walks. Well, maybe he listened to the show. He works 3 of them on Saturday, and he that was in the cleanup spot. So I think, of course, ironically there, you get the idea. Then Brasso batted 5th and played first base, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, no good there. Then Kiermaier in center. Margot in left, Phillips in right, Zunino batted ninth, and Caught, he went 2 for 3 and knocked in a run. So that was nice as well to see him have a nice little game. There was a single in the 5th inning. And I think it's pretty clear that he's going to be your postseason catcher. The pitchers like pitching to him. He's a good backstop as well. I don't think whatever marginal offensive gain you're going to get from either Kevin Smith or Michael Perez is really going to be worth it. There's something to the 5 games in 5 days in the ALDS, or even the 7 games in 7 days in the ALCS. I think at that point you might want to think about mixing it up. And I think you do that with the lefty Michael Perez when you're facing, make sure you're doing it when you're facing a righty starter. I'm aware that that's going to be the more common thing, but get the lefty in there just to maybe shake it up and give Zunino a day off to get off his feet. Because even though it's a shortened season, it's not like we've been through the dog days of summer. It's only been 60 games. It's not a 162, but I think having a catcher go 5 days or 7 days in a row is not necessarily ideal. But good to see Zunino maybe get back into a little groove. We know he can run into one, but I think we've all been just asking for him to hit a little better for average. He bats 147 this year. Let me check. And that's where his batting average finished, so below 150. But he ran into a couple home runs, and he's got power. And I think in a postseason, when one game matters so much, I think maybe the home run ends up meaning a little bit more than he can hit singles maybe a little more routinely. So I'm trying to look at the bright spot on that. I believe Margot and Phillips might have gotten a little banged up in that game. Phillips played, I believe, to start, and then he exited, but Manny Margot did not. The word from Mark Tompkin today is that they look good. They're going to have a lot of decisions to make. The deadline for the 28-man first round roster is not due until 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. So they're going to have a little bit of time to think about that. G-Man Choi, Yandy Diaz were playing catch. Jose Alvarado and Brett Honeywell actually threw some live BP. So who knows? I had mentioned that if we were going to see Alvarado in the postseason, Cash was probably going to need to get some reassurance from him in game time action on the Saturday or Sunday games against Philadelphia. I guess Cash says, screw that, throw it out the window. I guess we're just going to thrust him into action for the first time in 2 months just in playoff baseball. I don't know. If he feels confident enough, that's fine. I would prefer not to see that, but when you're playing these heavy lineups like the Blue Jays have, you need all the pitchers you can get, and Alvarado with electric stuff, he just can't seem to control it. And if he can do that, especially as a lefty, the Rays don't really have, it seems like, enough strong lefty arms. And it looks like Blake Coleman, or I believe it was Blake Coleman or Pat Maroon. It's now 2-0 Lightning in Game 6. Again, a win tonight would clinch it for the Bolts and bring home the Cup. So, it was Blake Coleman, by the way. Excuse me for interrupting, but so exciting to see the Lightning doing well. Again, the Rays are going to have to make some tough decisions, and we'll maybe talk a little bit about playoff roster at the end, although I'm not sure how much necessarily value there would be maybe to preview that when you'll be able to find out about 10 or so hours after the show gets off the air. But other takeaways from Saturday, they win 4-3, which is nice. They scored it looks like 3 runs in the 5th inning, so that was good to see them score in bursts. They go 4 for 6. Wow, with runners in scoring position, what do you know? Maybe they're turning a corner, leave 6 men on base. And I already mentioned with Yoshi, the cleanup spot, that's good to see him get his average also over 200, 1 for 1, 3 walks. Rosarena led off, gets a hit. Lau gets a hit. Adames gets hit, and Adames batting third, so I don't know. Cash is going to mix things up for sure. Barrasso, a guy that was hitting over 300 for the most part during the season and has really come into his own as a good hitter. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Kiermaier 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. And then Brett Phillips, who had collected his first home run as a Ray, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, and who knows if he's even going to be healthy. And then I'd mentioned with the Zunino, the couple of hits, and including an RBI single. So that's nice to see. And then from a pitching standpoint, we had heard that Kevin Cash was going to get weird with it because they had 2 games to play with, essentially. If they had lost, nothing would happen. That's the nature of clinching the 1 seed. So Go with the opener, John Curtis. He faces a total of 5 men, gets only 2 outs in the first, gives up an unearned run. So I didn't see the first inning of that, but I'd imagine maybe some errors or whatever. His ERA is still under 2, by the way. He gets the first couple of outs, and then Ryan Yarbrough rolls in, gets the out there in the first inning, and then pitches 3 more. He pitches 3 1/3 with just 35 pitches, and the reason being, and why I applaud him so much on the show, 35 pitches, 29 for strikes, faced 12 men, threw a first pitch strike to 7 of them, so good on him. 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. And I that's really the Yarbrough type role. His only postseason, well, he had a handful of postseason appearances, but I recall in Game 4 he pitched, I think it was like 2 or 3 innings behind the opener Castillo, and then he pitched. I think he faced a batter in Game 5. So that's going to be the target for Yarbs. I think. I'm not sure that they're going to start him outright. That could always change, of course, but I think if you learn anything from listening to me on the show, it's try and follow along with Kevin Cash, because he often will show you, not necessarily show his cards, but just let you know what his thought process is, and you can kind of follow along with him. If they wanted Yarbrough to start outright, if they wanted him ready to go to pitch 6 or 7 innings, guess what he would have done? He would have started outright, and they would have had him go 6 or 7. But no, they have him pitch behind an opener, and they have him go 3 1/3. And just pitched 35 times, and maybe a little bit of a tune-up, sure. He was a guy that was stretched out to start the season, and what a huge asset he was, especially during the early stages of the contest. So he gets 3 1/3 of scoreless baseball, so that's nice to see. Then Fairbanks comes in, gets an inning, gives up a run in the process, a hit, a walk, strikes out 2, gives up a home run. That would have been in the 5th inning, and it was a 367-foot homer to left for Andrew McCutchen. So one gets away from Fairbanks. 16 pitches, 11 strikes, an ERA under 3. Again, he's still a part of your A bullpen, from the right side, but he's really come on. A guy that's got a high fastball, 97. I believe his other pitch is a slider, and he can work that thing pretty good as well. So he pitches an inning there. Then Castillo comes in, gets a hold, an inning scoreless, gives up a hit, a strikeout, 15 pitches, 10 strikes. And then Sleggers, the sledgehammer. Again, I think this is another case of Cash getting guys ready for their postseason roles. Sleggers, most often this season, we've seen him kind of in that bulk role. He's pitched, single innings at times, and I think it's clear that that's not what he's going to be. We've talked with callers on this show. Again, number to call. I'll keep plugging in it. 877-566-1020 with you, maybe for about another 40 minutes or so. Sleggers and Fleming are going to be the bulk men. When maybe if they make it to the ALDS and you're playing 5 games in 5 days, if they can line it up, it'll be Snell, Glasnow, Morton. Then in Game 4, I would go Yarbrough behind an opener, and then in Game 5, if it comes to that, you'd have the option of going Blake Snell on short rest, or you go with maybe Sleggers for 2, Fleming for 2, and then maybe you have your bullpen. Or what's left of it at that point, get you the rest of the way home. So to see Sleggers pitch 3 innings of 1-run ball and close out the game, he gets the save. So that was nice to see as well. Gives up an earned run on 4 hits, no walks, a strikeout, 48 pitches thrown, 31 for strikes. He's got an ERA currently under 4. It's under 3.5 actually. Faces 11 men. There's a first pitch strike to 6 of them. So I don't know, that's about 50%, so it could be a little bit better in that department, but can't really complain there. I think he's ready for his role, and he's really pitched nicely. I think he had a stretch of about 9 innings or so, and even a couple of times where he was pitching almost essentially perfect baseball or scoreless baseball at the least, so getting him back is certainly going to be a big part of that. And Fairbanks as well gets his 6th win. Trivia question, I'm sure will come up in the future. He got the most wins of any pitcher on the Rays in this shortened season. So certainly if you had asked before the season, you would not have guessed Pete Fairbanks, but there you go. And also they knock out, I guess, Zach Wheeler. He goes 7 innings, 118 pitches. We knew he could go deep into it. 4 earned runs on 7 hits, 4 walks. So good to see. The Rays working 4 walks in a game. That's good. after how much they were striking out. And I think that was a big concern for me, and I think I might have made the mistake of overplaying it a little bit. I know they won 4 or 5 in Baltimore, and that basically sealed the Rays' fate that they were going to head to October and win the American League East as well. And then they play a rough series in New York against the Mets. They win 2 of the 3, but they were striking out like crazy. And to me, it was a team that appeared that it was limping to the finish, but instead they come home and sweep a Phillies team that was desperately trying to get to the postseason. I mean, they had a starter go in relief on Sunday, Zach Eflin. So, I mean, Joe Girardi was throwing everything he had at this Rays team, and nothing could stick. I mean, he just had nothing going for him. I mean, you look up and down the roster, I need to tell you, it's a good Phillies team. Bryce Harper, McCutchen, Real Muto, Gregorius, Segura, Jay Bruce even, I guess, at this point in his career. I mean, they've got guys in the Rays pitching staff shutting them down and shutting them out on Sunday afternoon. A 5-0 win for Tampa Bay. That got them win number 40 on the season. The Phillies, I'll start with this. Aaron Nola, the ace, he goes 3 2/3, gives up 3 earned runs on 6 hits. So to knock him out early, and he's a guy that's been great for Philadelphia this year, and you're able to knock him out, that's huge. And then also on the other side, it was Josh Fleming. Now, this was a little bit more curious to me. This could have just been about getting innings. I'm not sure. I know that saw the joke from the Rays fans that, it was going to be a spot for Mike Brasso maybe to get some pitching just because the playoff positioning was locked up, and you only get a single off day. That's going to be a lot different as well before you dive into this thing. So, and no travel day. So, Josh Fleming starts right out of the gate. And we've only seen him go 5 innings and a couple of outs at the max, and 75 pitches was where he was topping out at. And I was guessing maybe he would go 3 or 4 in less pitches than that. So he goes 6 innings, 90 pitches. Only 53 were for strikes, which I don't love. But hey, he pitches 6 innings of scoreless baseball, giving up only 4 hits and 1 walk in the process. Fanning 5. The strikeouts isn't really his thing, so not a concern there. He faced 23 men. Threw a first pitch strike to only 8 of them. So the fact he's still able to get through 6 innings in 90 pitches means that he was getting a lot of outs early in counts. And hey, that's going to be a big part of being a bulk guy in the playoffs. So I think that's a good side to see. You get a perfect inning from Drake. You give up. You get a scoreless inning from Aaron Loop, and you get a scoreless inning from Ryan Sheriff to finish the shutout. So only giving up 6 hits. And a walk in 9 innings to a Phillies team that was basically down to their final outs of the season. So that's really good to see. And also, I mean, they only threw the team as a whole. I never really look at this stat. They threw 131 pitches, 79 for strikes. So a staff that did a relatively good job of throwing strikes. And I think those have been probably my top 2 concerns with this Rays team. The strikeouts on the offense and not throwing strikes with the pitching, and I see that more with guys like Blake Snell, and but it's especially frustrating with guys in the bullpen because in those late inning stages, you absolutely cannot afford to walk guys. You can't give base runners free of charge. That just won't work. And they're going to need the bullpen to be especially sharp as it really was in the playoffs last year. So, and then you got Josh Fleming, and this is more for next year. But how about Josh Fleming basically cementing himself into the Rays rotation next year? We were having a conversation of the Rays were going to be potentially scrambling. Charlie Morton could be gone next year. Yanni Chirinos is out with the Tommy John. Well, guess what? Here's your 5 for next year. Or I think maybe only 4, actually. Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Ryan Yarbrough, Josh Fleming. And then by that time, Brent Honeywell, as long as he doesn't face another setback, as he's pretty much ready to go right now, you slot him in as your number 5 starter. And there you go. There's your starting 5. So that's good to see. A great little rookie campaign there for Josh Fleming. And we all look in anticipation to see what he'll do in postseason play. I think he'll be fine Kevin Cash is obviously going to protect him. They're all about putting guys in the best position to succeed. He's a lefty that has a lot of control, and that's his A pitch, I guess, is his fastball. That's tops at around 90, but he can pretty much put it wherever he wants when he's on. The scouting report, and I'd say it's pretty much confirmed to this point, an average to maybe slightly above average changeup and slider. And the bugaboo for him in the minors as a lefty pitcher, he gave up over 300 average to right-handed hitters. So I think his splits have been a little less drastic than that this season in the majors, at least the last time I checked on Fangraphs or whatever site of choice. So, but I would imagine Cash is going to be especially careful in how he uses him. Probably won't let him face maybe a righty a second time through, kind of being delicate like that. So we'll see how that plays out. So a couple of nice wins for the Rays. They're going away basically to end the season. So we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we'll talk more Rays playoffs. We've got tomorrow's game to preview. It's Blake Snell v. Matt Shoemaker, and we'll also touch on games 2 and potentially 3. Right now, the Lightning are up 2-0 with about 5.5 minutes left in the second period. So if you want to look at it that way, if I dare, they are about 25 minutes away from bringing home the Stanley Cup. So a lot of exciting things here, and we'll be on and out of here before the third period starts. So that's all good and fine. When we come back from break, we'll be taking your calls and for the rest of the show at 877-566-1020. And until then, we'll be right back.
Hey, sports fans. William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBCStream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCStream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 66. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 9:40, we are back on the William Haynes Show again, taking your calls for another half hour or so at 877-566-1020, getting you ready for Rays Blue Jays, a 3-game American League wildcard series is what they're going to call it. And just an update that I checked on during the break, the injury report right now for the Blue Jays, I guess retroactive of September 27th, which was yesterday. Ross Stripling, the starting pitcher that they acquired from the Dodgers, was listed as day-to-day, so he may not be available. And again, all this can go out the window. The postseason roster deadline for the 28-man roster that they can select from the 40-man pool is due at 10 a.m. tomorrow. That's for a 5 p.m. start, so they'll have that adjustment period. After that, also Jordan Romano is on the injured list, and first baseman Rowdy Tellez. And currently for the Rays, Yandy Diaz, obviously, but we expect him to be coming off. Both Margot and Brett Phillips are listed as day-to-day since September 27th, yesterday. We know about Meadows. He's not going to be able to come back until potentially World Series, but that's not a guarantee. And Jose Alvarado, who is on the 60-day IL, he threw live to hitters and looked fine, as did Brett Honeywell, who we have yet to see make his Major League debut in. I never would have expected that Cash would kind of throw guys out there without really any major league experience. Wander Franco, a guy that could potentially be on the roster, I guess. I mean, he's on the 40-man pool, so that I guess they can select him. And part of that is just getting some depth. He may not really be in the plans unless an emergency, but you talk about a wild card series. There's a lot of wild card characters involved in all of this, really for both sides. And obviously Cash keeping stuff under wraps, but we got a good look, and a lot of credit to Mark Tompkin on Twitter. He was there at the Trop today, and all the pictures and videos, and where we saw G-Man Choi and Yandy Diaz playing catch, so it looks like they'll be back, and we know how much of a difference maker both of those guys are in the lineup. Yandy Diaz, a guy that really carried the Rays through that American League wildcard game. He led off, and he led up the game as well with a home run, so that was certainly a cool thing to see. And G-Man Choi really seems like it's just such a clutch hitter. I don't know. It's just something about him. It's kind of an indescribable characteristic of his that he can single. It seems like when you need a base runner most, he's going to rip off a single through the gap and get on base or work a walk or what have you, or can move a guy over. So he's going to be a big part of that lineup. A guy that I don't think would lead off in the playoffs, but a guy maybe that could hit cleanup or maybe even bat, in the 3 spot or something like that, maybe behind Lau, who I think is going to be your number 2 hitter in the order. And then, that's pretty much it for the injury report. I guess we'll preview the game and then talk about the rest of the stuff. So tomorrow on TBS at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Matt Shoemaker, the righty, against Blake Snell, the lefty. We'll start with Matt Shoemaker. He has faced the Rays 3 times this season. On the second day of the season, on July the 25th, he goes 6 innings, giving up just an earned run. A little bit later, about 3 weeks later, on August the 16th, plays the Rays in a doubleheader game, goes just 4 innings, 3 earned runs on 3 hits. That was an early ejection for him. He throws just 60 pitches. And then on August the 21st, he pitches 5 innings, 2 earned runs on 4 hits. So pitching to a pretty decent ERA, I guess. I'm not quite sure, again, what's going to be in store for him tomorrow. That was actually his last start. I think he threw 74 pitches, so he might have come out a little bit early on that August 21st game. And he had not pitched for an entire month. The last time he pitched was September the 21st. He goes 3 innings of a 1-run ball on 3 hits against the New York Yankees, throwing just 54 pitches. So who knows if he's stretched out. So I would imagine maybe Robbie Ray, a guy that could come into play, an early move to the bullpen. I'm not exactly sure maybe what they're going to do. So hard to really tell. Another note for him, I was digging up maybe if he had some postseason experience, and indeed he does. When he was a member of the LA Angels in 2014, he pitched Game 3 of the ALDS against the Kansas City Royals. Now, the Angels got swept in that series, and he pitched in Game 3, a no decision. He went 6 innings of 1 earned run on 5 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts, 82 pitches, 54 strikes. So his official postseason ERA is at 150, so definitely did not get rattled by the moment as far as first pitch strikes to batters faced. He faced 23 men through a first pitch strike to 14 of them. I'm not quite sure maybe how much that comes into play. Again, that was at this point 6 years ago, and a lot about his game has changed at this point for the 34-year-old. So, but in case you're wondering, yes, he does have a single postseason appearance. And then after, or moving over to his appearances against the Rays, we talked about that 4-1 win in late July, the second game of the season, 6 innings and earned run on 3 hits. We look at some guys that did some damage against him, not very many. Brandon Lau goes 2 for 4 against him, including, no, he didn't get to. The only guy that got a run off of him, it was Choi, an RBI double to left that scored Mike Brasso. So I would imagine Choi would be a big part of this game. Obviously, the righty-lefty is going to be huge. They're going to try and throw Maybe not as many lefties. They're not going to pull out something like 9 lefties in the playoffs. I'm thinking a good balance would maybe be 7 lefties to 2 righties, or 6 lefties to 3 righties. And obviously with the postseason, especially, it's all subject to change. The moment a left-hander comes out of the bullpen, you start pinch hitting basically the right-handers or whatever the moment calls for. So they're going to have the bench, and we'll know. We'll know a little bit better about what this roster looks like tomorrow when we discuss this game. And also, just to let you guys know, we'll be on pretty much right after the final out. I mean, I may need to take a little while to kind of collect my thoughts. It's certainly going to be a different way to do a post-game show. We're not doing playoff baseball, but I'll have my scorebook to look at. I'll be scoring the games now that we're in that playoff time and have all that to talk about. So Ji-Man Choi, and he led off in that game, so that might be a theme to look for. I would imagine if he's good to go, Choi would lead off. Again, Lau with 2 hits in that game. Yandy got a hit. So there you go. Choi, Diaz, and Lau. Those could be 3 big characters right there. Tsutsugo went 0 for 4. Wendell 0 for 4. Margot 0 for 3. Kiermaier 0 for 3. Adames 0 for 3. So so in that game it was so pretty much Choi, Lau, and Diaz against Shoemaker in 6 innings. Now we look to his next start that came on the August the 16th. That was a Rays 7-5 win in 8 innings. It was Shoemaker in that one. An early exit for him. He goes 4 innings, 3 earned runs on 3 hits. Walks a man, strikes out 7, 60 pitches, 39 first strikes. And interesting anecdote, I'll throw it out there. I actually had this game on the radio as I was driving up to college, moving into my apartment. So I'll fondly remember that day. And I got, it was about a 5-hour drive, so I got to catch most of both games of the doubleheader. So that was pretty neat. But I recall listening on the radio that it was an at-bat to Tsutsugo with Brandon Lau and Wendell on base, and it was, I guess, a missed strike 3. I didn't actually see it, but I guess a questionable, or it should have been called strike 3, but it was called a ball to Tsutsugo, and then the next pitch, Tsutsugo homers off of him. So you understand the frustration from Shoemaker there. I suppose, and then I believe he finishes the inning, but then after that on the bench, he's irate, and I just went off on the ref, was yelling. I think he might have touched an official, something along those lines, and he gets booted out. So we didn't get the whole story, and that was the only runs charged against him was that 3-run homer for Yoshi Tsutsugo that at that point gave the Rays a 3-2 lead, and they would have to come back again later, but we look at the guys that did some damage against them. Obviously, Tsutsugo was one of them after going again 0 for 4 against Shoemaker the first time around. So he might be a guy in there. Again, heavy lefties is going to tell the story. Brandon Lau 1 for 3 with a walk. Diaz had a pinch hit. Choi goes 0 for 4, so we couldn't get the better of Shoemaker that time around. Kiermaier gets a couple of hits. Adames gets hit, so it was a little bit different, and I know that doesn't tell the whole story because Shoemaker only pitched 4 innings in that one. So I think the theme we're seeing here is that it's the lefties that's doing more of the damage against the right-hander Shoemaker. And then the third and final appearance against the Rays this season that came 5 days later on August the 21st against the Rays. It was a game that went 10 innings, and the Blue Jays won it by a score of 6-5. In that game, Shoemaker 5 innings, 2 earned runs on 4 hits, a walk, 6 strikeouts, gives up 2 home runs, 74 pitches. So that's kind of the theme for him. It's not give up a lot of walks, but the Rays have been able to get to him. Looks like with the long ball has been kind of one of the big signs. It was Brandon Lau with a home run, and that was the second at-bat of the game. Also off of him, it was Yandy Diaz homering, and that was it. So I think, that Choi and Yandy Diaz, guys that we've seen here on the stat sheet that have done some damage against Matt Shoemaker, and hopefully those guys will be among the cast of characters. Brandon Lau, I know, slotted in right now. he'll be playing second base and he'll be batting second, and he's going to be a big part of whether they win or lose tomorrow as kind of the anchor of that lineup. I think can just do so many different things with the long ball. Just hits the ball harder than almost anybody in the majors. The extra base hits, that's his game. He goes 1 for 4 in that contest with a walk. Yandy Diaz goes 3 for 3. So there you go with 2 walks. That was one of the trademark Yandy Diaz games. So obviously they're going to want to get him in there. Choi goes 1 for 2 before getting pinch hit for. Wendell goes 2 for 4. So I think we may see him in there in some shape or fashion. And Kiermaier 0 for 3. And I think that was about it from there. So there's the theme, really. Those common lefties that we're seeing. Unfortunately, Austin Meadows is not going to be able to be in there. And who knows about Brett Phillips. I think the lefty, he could kind of be an Austin Meadows replacement in some ways. And they're going to really have some tough decisions, I think, to make in the outfield on where they're going to go. So no Meadows, no Phillips. You have, obviously, Kiermaier in center and Margot potentially out of the picture as well. So do you go, I don't know, do you go Yoshi in left, Kiermaier in center, and Renfroe in right? I would feel a little bit risky doing that. I would think I would maybe prefer to have Yoshi pinch hit, but then I think maybe if you have, you would probably want to pinch hit either G-Man Choi or Yandy Diaz. Yandy was taking some ground balls at third, which he did not do. Or no, he did do. I believe first base he hasn't played this year, and that's where he played in the wild card game, was at first base. So last season. So unknown on maybe what that would be. So we'll maybe talk about that a little bit later. Actually, no, we'll talk about it now. Pulling up the roster, we don't know what exactly it's going to look like, but we can do a little bit of guesswork on what the roster would look like as I'm pulling it up here. So the outfield, and then I forget, Randy Arozarena is going to be a part of this as well, so he kind of slips my mind, and that's going to be part of the tough decision, even if you do have, Margot and Phillips available. Obviously, it's going to be the lefty, Kiermaier in center. That makes the most sense, and then I think take your pick. I think they're going to try and get Randy in there in some shape or fashion, and that would obviously be playing the outfield, and he's a better fielder than the other guys that you've got. And then in right field, take your pick. Either Margot, Phillips, those are wild cards because who knows if they're going to be healthy. They're day-to-day. And then you have Renfroe and Setsugo. So Yoshi, I know a guy that did some damage against Matt Shoemaker this year, so they want to get him in the lineup. But if you want to have Choi and Diaz as well, those are the kind of some of the tough decisions that they're going to have to make. So let's just say for the sake of this that they'll go Yoshi in left, Kiermaier in center, Arozarena in right, and that gets you 2 lefties there. And then along the infield, I'll go Joey Wendell at third base. At shortstop, I'll go Willie Adames, Brandon Lau at second, and at first, I'll go G-Man Choi if he's healthy. I'll have Yandy Diaz DH, and I will have Mike Zunino play catcher, and obviously he'll catch for Blake Snell. And then available out of the bullpen, take your pick of anybody that's going to be available. I mean, we know who the A bullpen guys are right now: Fairbanks, Castillo, Anderson, Thompson. Maybe he's been good with runners on base. You got him, and then maybe from the left-handed side, you got Loop and Sheriff. Potentially Josh Fleming, but I think they're going to want to save him. And then you've even got guys like Oliver Drake and John Curtis. Maybe it's a middle inning relief. Maybe if Blake Snell can only give you 4, I think you would bring on an Oliver Drake in the 5th if the matchups align. And with a 3-batter minimum, that's really going to change the way that they handle the bullpen and their moves. But that's just to give you an idea of maybe where they're going to go with the lineup there. And then talking about Blake Snell and what he has done against the Toronto Blue Jays. He has faced them this year just twice, and really I would say maybe 1.5 because his first time against the Blue Jays, it was on July 26th, and that was when, you remember, he was still getting stretched out. In that game, he goes just 2 innings, no earned runs on 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, only 46 pitches, and then his second and final time out against the Blue Jays was on August the 24th. Goes 5 2/3, 2 earned runs on 4 hits, gives up a home run, walks a man, 9 strikeouts, 101 pitches, and then Also, to give you an idea of his latest start, it was his tune-up against the New York Mets. Goes 5 2/3. Also, 3 earned runs, 6 hits, 2 home runs, which wasn't great, but one of them was kind of bogus. 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, 108 pitches. So, really a common theme. That really is the ultimate Blake Snell game, right? Where he'll go 5 1/3, 5 2/3. He'll give you some walks that are kind of mind-boggling and frustrating as all heck. And then he'll try and strike out everybody. I really don't think he's going to go more than 5, and then maybe a couple of outs into the 6th. I would be very shocked if he goes 6, because guess what? He hasn't done it in the regular season. So why all of a sudden do we expect him to change now? Go with what you know. I'm predicting maybe 5 innings of 1 or 2 run baseball from Blake Snell, and then toss in the 10 strikeouts because he's going to pitch sliders that are way too far in the dirt and things like that to get the chase and miss. And that's one thing about this Blue Jays team that's going to stress me out a little bit, because that's a team that has a really good lineup, and they know how to hit. Let's just say that. I mean, we know that from Biggio and Bichette, Guerrero Jr., Grichuk, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Travis Shaw, and then they added also, don't forget, Jonathan VR from the Marlins, a guy that can switch hit. So, I mean, they've got all kinds of guys, and against Blake Snell, we'll take a look at how they fared against him. The first time out, it was the 2 innings, not really much going. It didn't give up any runs. I wouldn't even bother really to mess with the box score there. And then really basically the only thing that we have to go off of, it was on August the 24th. It goes 5 2/3, 2 earned runs on 4 hits, walks just 1, strikes out 9, gives up a home run, 101 pitches. So we're talking runs, Guerrero Jr. RBI double, and then a Gurriel Jr. Homer, solo homer that I remember that got him pulled out of the game when we thought he was going to be able to go a full 6, and a pitch that kind of got away from him there. How the lineup fared against him: Biggio a couple hits, Grichuk a couple hits, Vladdy obviously with the RBI double, Gurriel Jr. with the home run, Teoscar gets a hit, and that was it. Yes, Travis Shaw goes 0 for 4, Jansen the catcher 0 for 3, and then the 8-9 hitters not really worth mentioning, Panic and Espinal, neither of them getting a hit in that contest. So a Blue Jays lineup that looks a tad different right now. I think Jonathan VR is going to come a little bit more into play. A lineup 1 through 9 that can hit home runs. Even in the outfield, guys like Grichuk and Travis Shaw. I think when he's out there, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Teoscar Hernandez, and then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hasn't had such a great season, but Biggio and Bichette have. Especially Biggio is an absolute weapon. And Bo Bichette, who went to high school about 10 minutes south of Tropicana Field and always does damage against the Rays, he's going to be a big part of that as well. I mean, there's no easy outs in this lineup, and I think that's really the big problem is when you need easy outs, guess what? There are none. There's no such thing as easy outs, not really just in playoff baseball, but especially against this team, and especially in a 3-game set where an inning gets away from you and you're talking about a whole new series and potentially your entire season going down the drain. So that's a little bit scary, but and the sample size for Blake Snell is small, but maybe you flip that on its head and you say, well, maybe the Blue Jays don't know him that well because they haven't seen him too much. So I guess for the sake of this exercise, we'll go with that one. I just wanted to take a peek at his postseason experience. We all remember the 3 appearances against the Astros, really the 3 tales of Blake Snell, perhaps. It was Game 2 of the ALDS against the Astros. Starts outright, goes 3 1/3, earned run on 4 hits, no walks. He didn't strike out anybody in 5 1/3 innings in postseason play. Struck out 5 in that start, threw just 58 pitches, so it was an early exit for him, and obviously that was an aggressive bullpen move. And then it was I believe it was Game 4, was it not? Yeah. And he was pitching on just 2 days rest. So, and I think that's maybe part of why they only had him throw 58 pitches. So, and he gets the final 2 outs there. And then in Game 5, he goes an inning and a third. So total, you put it all together, it looks kind of like a start. In the 3 games against Houston last year in the playoffs, 5 1/3, an earned run on 4 hits. a home run, no walks, 7 strikeouts, and a total of 91 pitches thrown throughout those 3 appearances, and a 1.69 ERA. So I don't know. The sample size is small, but I think there's no doubt about it right now with what Charlie Morton has been in 2020, which is just to say basically a huge question mark, a great unknown. Blake Snell is your ace, and in case you have kind of any question why, Blake Snell is a 4-pitch pitcher. He's got a fastball that's great when he can find the zone, a changeup that he works beautifully off of that, and then the slider and the curveball that I wish he could throw for strikes a little more often so hitters would respect it, but still gets a lot of really bad-looking swing and misses. And then with Tyler Glasnow, I think he's going to be great in the playoffs, but my concern with him is a 2-pitch pitcher, and we've seen him when his curveball isn't there and he can't find it, you become a fastball pitcher, and that's not going to work in the major leagues, obviously. And so that's not a spot you want to get yourself in, down 0-1 in a best of 3. So I like the move to go with Blake Snell in Game 1. I think more than any of the 3, when you're talking about Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Charlie Morton, I think you're most confident, the guy that's been most consistent, for good or for worse, Blake Snell. You know what you're getting from Blake Snell. You're going to get 5 1/3 with like 3 walks, 10 strikeouts, maybe an earned run or 2. And with the way the hitting has been and the way the bullpen is as well, that's going to give you a pretty darn good chance to win. And in Game 1, where your bullpen is lined up, and Nick Anderson hasn't pitched in a few days, and neither has Diego Castillo, and those cast of characters, they're going to be ready to go, and I think that'll be fine. And then against Matt Shoemaker, I mean, I really like, again, how they match up. Guys that have done some damage against him, and a Rays lineup that has seen him 3 times again this season, and they were all full outings, 6 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. So a lineup that knows him, 2 guys that hit the best against him, G-Man Choi and Yandy Diaz right now, that are hurt, and we're hoping to get them off, the injury list and into the postseason roster. They've got to be able to play. I mean, I know they were both taking BP, and they were, playing catch. They look fine. I think, Yandy Diaz said at the time of his injury that it wasn't a big deal, that he didn't even need to go on the injured list, and they do it as a sign of precaution. So he'll be ready, and I'd imagine, especially defensively, if he's healthy, he's a good first baseman. Let's not forget that. I know they've been messing around with a Hunter Renfroe and a Mike Brasso and guys like that, and even a Nate Lowe. I'm sorry, this may be a hot take. If Yandy Diaz and G-Man Choi are available, Nate Lowe is not going to be on the postseason roster. I can assure you of that, and you don't really need him. He came on strong at the end, and he helped you make that extra push, but I don't think they're really going to be needing him. So that helps from there. And then again, with what I would do with the lineup, I would have leadoff hitter. That's tough. I'll go either Yandy Diaz or G-Man Choi. I'll have Brandon Lau bat second, and then batting third, I'd maybe I don't know, take your pick. Maybe you want a Rosarena there. I wouldn't bat Tsutsugo that high, and then that's a really tough call. And then I guess in the outfield, I would probably go Rosarena, Kiermaier, and probably Tsutsugo to get that lefty, because Yoshi has been so good against Shoemaker. And then in the infield, I'm gonna have Mike Brasso on the bench. He kind of limped a bit to the finish line, and he's a righty. I want the lefty Wendell at third base, and I think he's good defense over there. Adames at short, Brandon Lau at second, G-Man Choi at first. I'll DH Yandy Diaz because he's not been especially a great fielder this year. Mike Zunino to catch, and then you get the idea from there. And then I just wanted to glance, for the next couple minutes or so, just take a gander at some of the other postseason series. We will be getting playoff baseball, obviously, tomorrow. Starting at 2 from the Twin Cities, Houston at Minnesota. That'll be Zach Greinke v. Kenta Maeda. Zach Greinke is really the only good pitcher that Houston has. They may be able to get through a best of 3, because who knows if Minnesota just wets the bed. But Houston doesn't have a future in the postseason. They just don't have the pitching with Verlander going down and without Cole. McCullers Jr. has been fine, but I'm not in love with who they have behind that. So I don't know. I would probably say Houston, or excuse me, the Twins probably to get through that series, but a best of 3, who knows? Another good one, Oakland and Chicago. The White Sox, it'll be Lucas Giolito, who has a no-hitter this year, 1 of 2. And the other guy, Alec Mills, for the other team in Chi-Town, the Cubs getting the other one, versus Jesus Luzardo. So it looks like Oakland maybe not the best starting pitching. I mean, I know Luzardo is fine, but I would probably give Giolito the nod in Game 1 there. And then the only other game besides the Rays is the Yankees at Indians, of course, getting the primetime slot at 7. Garrett Cole versus Shane Bieber. I think that those starters are going to probably cancel each other out. I mean, those are two guys legitimately that could go 7 innings with no runs. And then you're talking about basically a 2-inning game there. And that's an interesting thing to bring up, and I'll finish the show with this, is with the strategy with Charlie Montoyo, I was surprised to see him go with Matt Shoemaker in Game 1. It's usually, general consensus would have you go with your ace in Game 1, especially in a best of 3. You'd want to start off 1-0, because if you don't, you got to win the next 2, obviously. So Hyun-Jin Ryu, we thought would be going Game 1. Instead, I think maybe Montoyo thinks he likes his chances better versus Glasnow than versus Snell. So maybe he just throws out Shoemaker, and they're going to go, tandem starter with maybe Robbie Ray or maybe Ross Stripling, and throw whoever in the bullpen that they've got at Snell. And then Game 2, they throw out Ryu and hope that he can shut him down and that his offense can get to Glasnow. And then I think the hope for him is maybe you force a Game 3 and you can get to Charlie Morton, because we really have no idea what he's going to be. And so for Game 1, I think the Rays obviously have the better chance. You look at what Vegas is saying. The money line says Rays minus 182. They're a 1.5 favorite. I don't really go into that much, but I think in a postseason game it's worth maybe glancing on. And then the over-under is 7, so they're thinking maybe a 4-3 game, or I guess 5-2, potentially. So I would love to see a 5-2 game in favor of the Rays, and Blake Snell getting the win, and they can get to Shoemaker early and see Setsugo do well, and see Choi and Yandy Diaz come back nice, and the lineup that Kevin Cash has been toying with so much kind of finally shape up and come into form. And so tomorrow we'll be on the air right after the final out, so we're talking maybe 8 o'clock. We'll basically get you everything you need to know about the Rays game, and then also potentially some Lightning celebration. We might have to lead the show with that, to be honest. Tampa Bay, just 20 minutes left to go. They're up 2-0 against the Stars. Didn't get to touch on it, but the Bucks do win in Week 3. They're now 2-1, so that was good. It was against a crummy Broncos team, so didn't really think to put much in it. But that's good to see. All the teams are doing well. So obviously, again, we'll be on the air after the game tomorrow, and we'll tell you everything about that and preview the game on Wednesday. So go Rays, go Lightning. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.
W